Frankie, we got to cut out. I say obviously all the time. It's so annoying. It's Thursday, July 22nd. This is episode 171 of the Token CEO podcast. This is our Olympics episode. We are presented by Sports Research. If you want to get out there and get your sport on, Sports Research is the perfect company to help you prepare. So whether you're running, you're doing the javelin, you're golfing like Danielle Kang, who's our guest today, Sports Research can get you everything you need to be at your best. Go to sportsresearch.com and use code Erika for 25% off at checkout. All right, so here's what we're doing today. We've got Danielle Kang joining us. Danielle Kang is awesome. She is a feisty little thing. She's fired up to compete at the Olympics on behalf of the United States. We're going to talk about the business of the Olympics. We're going to highlight women to watch. And as always, we'll start with our headlines and end with our segment on adulting. So our first headline is that there is some drama emanating out of the Olympic Village. So photos of beds circulated this week from the Olympic Village. I'm looking at a picture of these beds right now. It is the most uninspired look at like the worst version of your college dorm room. Photos of beds from the Olympic Village circulated this week. Athletes are now claiming that the quote unquote cardboard makeup of the beds are designed to discourage athletes from having sex and therefore discouraging people from spreading COVID-19. What's the phrase on that? Isn't it like masks on, clothes off? So like, I mean, I guess people could just have sex with masks on. To be honest with you, from what I understand from the Olympics, I think any efforts to slow down the rate of people having sex in the Olympic Village are going to be futile. In 2016, the games were deemed raunchy Rio. Tinder usage went up 129% in the Olympic Village. In the 2012 games in London, Grindr crashed. Let's face it, there's a bunch of hot athletes in Tokyo with not much to do. You've either won, you've lost, you've placed, you've medaled, or you've been completely blown out of the water. And what do you want to do? You probably want to go get drunk and have sex with someone. I'm not sure that these beds look like the best place to have sex. Like I could see Alex Cooper giving this a very low call her daddy review, but I don't think the beds are going to make a difference. What the Olympic organizers are saying is that the beds were designed using recycled materials and part of the game's sustainability efforts. These beds will turn into recycled paper after the games. That's the sex news from Olympics Village. The U.S. women's gymnastics team has opted to avoid those beds altogether. I think the Olympic gymnasts, what's the average age of the Olympic gymnast? I think an Olympic gymnast is like mid-teens max. So it's probably a good thing they're not in the sex-laden Olympic Village. This team is deciding to stay in a hotel rather than staying in Tokyo's Olympic Village. They're citing the need to avoid COVID for the reason that they're booking hotel rooms versus staying quote unquote on campus. I think what's interesting about this is the Olympic Village for the athletes is always such a part of the Olympic experience. It will be interesting to see going forward if more athletes opt out of staying at the Olympic Village. If you're a 16-year-old, I can understand why you wouldn't want to stay in the Olympic Village. This is also going to be a weird Olympics because nobody's family is allowed. So I would imagine that the U.S. women's gymnastics team wants to keep a pretty tight rein on those 16-year-olds, especially because they're favored to win their third straight Olympic title. We're going through the same thing, actually. So we're trying to find our hotel for the Super Bowl. We've had All Business Pete and Gaz and everybody scouting locations in Los Angeles, which is where the Super Bowl will be this year. And it's always an interesting discussion of who's going to stay at our Olympic Village versus who's staying at an off-campus hotel. I'll let you guess who's going to be opting for the off-campus hotel. That's me. Our third Olympic headline is on a more serious note. So Becca Myers is a swimmer. She's Para-Olympian. She was the gold medal favorite for Tokyo. She has canceled her plans to compete in the Paralympics because she is being told that she cannot bring a personal care assistant to Japan. Side note, Myers is both deaf and blind, so I can understand why the woman would want a care assistant, let alone need and be totally dependent on a care assistant. The US Olympic and Paralympic Committee officials are saying that they don't have space for her to bring in aid because of coronavirus restrictions on athlete delegations. This sucks. Can you imagine being a gold medal favorite swimmer, having overcome being both deaf and blind to being a world-class athlete and a gold medal favorite, and not being able to go because the Olympic organizers are expecting her to get herself to Tokyo, find her way around Tokyo, compete at an Olympic level without any support system. So this sucks. I hope they change their mind. I'm not sure they will. The Paralympics are not set to begin until August 24th. So we have a little bit of time. This would have been Myers' third Olympic Games. Rio was her last Olympic Games, and she won 3 gold medals. So our last headline, it comes to you straight from Poland. Poland miscounted the number of athletes that were able to go to the Olympics. It seems like the head count at the Olympics is just a nightmare. Poland had originally picked 23 swimmers to compete in the Tokyo Games. Unfortunately, there was only 17 allowed. One of them is going bananas on Facebook and said, imagine dedicating 5 years of your life and striving for another start at the most important sporting event, giving up your private life and work, sacrificing your family, and your dedication results in a total flop. Note to self, Poland, which is like, check the roster. Okay, so now that we've done the headlines, we have talked about sex at the Olympics. We've talked about how the women's gymnastics team is avoiding the Olympic Village. We've talked about Becca Myers, who can't go to the Olympics because the Olympics committee thought that while deaf and blind, she would be able to just make her way around Tokyo and compete at an Olympic level just fine by herself. And then Poland needs to think about their roster and manage their headcount a little bit better. Ad Results brings to life our headlines on the Token CEO podcast. Ad Results Media helps brands strike up healthy relationships. They understand the relationship between a creator and a host and a listener, and they understand how to integrate brands into those conversations in a way that won't fizzle out in the long run. Ad Results Media has industry-leading analytics tools. These tools help brands uncover and apply winning strategies. What they've also done is to form sustainable partnership with creators and publishers like Barstool Sports. By doing so, Ad Results Media gives their clients better and more unique opportunities to grow in the long term. If you go to adresultsmedia.com/token, that's adresultsmedia.com/token, you can learn more. Ad Results Media, be part of the story. Okay, let's get into the business of the Olympics. The Olympics is a massive, massive endeavor and includes with it massive expenditures. The LA Olympics in 1984 was the first and the last time in history when the Olympic Games were profitable. The reason that the Olympic Games were profitable in 1984 was that the organizers avoided building new stadiums. Every Olympic Games since 1960 recorded major cost overruns. In 1972, Denver, Colorado became the first and only chosen city. They had paid millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to put in their Olympic bid. Denver rejected hosting the Olympics because the public refused to greenlight additional spending for the Games. What's incredible about the Olympics is how big it is. And what's staggering about it is how expensive it is. So not only does it cost a lot to put on an Olympics, it costs an insane amount of money to even bid for the Olympics. So Tokyo, who's hosting the Summer Olympics that start this Friday, they spent $150 million alone on their failed 2016 bid to host the Olympics. The Tokyo Games, which have been delayed and postponed for a year because of COVID, are massively, massively over budget. The Games were initially forecast to cost $7.5 billion. They are now on track to cost $15.4 billion. Everyone is citing COVID as a key reason. Obviously, the delays in the Games themselves had a massive impact on cost. I think they drove the price up by a whopping $2.8 billion. The Japanese government is responsible for all costs, minus a $6.7 billion privately funded budget. So the Olympics, 200 nations compete, 11,000 athletes participate across 33 sports and 339 medal events. These Olympics are expected to lose $21 million which would be equivalent in Japan to 24 trillion yen. So the Olympics are obviously what I would call a loss leader, right? So China had the Olympics, they murdered it. They showed the world how big and strong China is. I remember watching the Beijing opening ceremony and you're like, holy shit, the Chinese are going to take over the world. That is exactly why a city and a country wants their Olympic bids. It's the opportunity to showcase who you are, what you do, what you stand for. It's the biggest branding event for a city and the country in the world. I think what's tough about Tokyo is that these summer games have been marred with problems. Obviously, COVID threw a major wrench in things, not being able to have spectators. There's a lot of controversy in Japan about who's advertising in the Olympics. Toyota, which is a Japanese company, has announced that they will not be running ads in Japan during the Olympics. The most dominant source of revenue for the Olympics is the broadcast rights. This year, there will be no spectators and fans, which will have a massive impact in terms of money flowing into the local economy, people experiencing Tokyo and seeing the city come to life firsthand, and also driving incremental revenue for the games themselves, not to mention the fact that I think it sucks for the athletes not to have fans in the stands. One of the things you hear, whether it's WWE or any major league or sport, is having fans back. If you looked at all of the fans in the stands for the Euro, it makes a massive, massive difference for the players. The broadcast revenues themselves, if you looked at London, so the London 2012 games generated $5.2 billion in broadcast revenue, following $18 billion in costs. Beijing, which was 2008, generated $3.6 billion. The Tokyo Olympics is being called the biggest and most impactful media event ever. I don't know how they say that. That seems like an NBC marketing slogan. NBC paid $7.75 billion to the IOC for a broadcast deal that will run through the 2032 Olympics games. So they'll have 6 Olympics. They've sold over $1.2 billion in advertisements for Tokyo. They've got the rights to everything. So whether it's television, internet, or mobile, I think what's going to be interesting is how Peacock is featured and what matches, games, and events will be free, what will be aired on NBC, and what will be aired on Peacock. I'm still a little annoyed with Peacock. I don't know if any of you tried to watch the WWE pay-per-view on Sunday night. It was a disaster. So I'm curious to see how Peacock will be able to sustain the traffic and the streams coming from their Olympic content. NBCU will have 15,000 commercials during this year's Olympics. And they're also partnering with Twitch to produce and deliver live content, which will only be available on the NBC Olympics Twitch channel. I think regardless, when you look at all the broadcast revenue and you think about, if you looked at Beijing's games or London's games, the London Olympics in 2012 cost $18 billion. They made $5 billion in broadcast fees, which still gives you a $13 billion loss. If you look at Beijing, they had $3.6 billion in broadcast revenue. They had $40 billion in costs, which I think showed in their production. The Olympics, biggest showcase for a country and a city. So my biggest question is, how do you make the most of the Olympics? Will people keep hosting Olympics? Brisbane, Australia just won, I think, the 2032 Olympics. That's 11 years away. How does that city, how do the Australians rationalize the expense and the forecasted losses that come with hosting an Olympics? I think the Olympics can also be a catalyst for a city. Like when I think about Beijing, you think about all of the structures they built. It was a statement about the Chinese economy. It was a showcasing of sport and art and culture. All of those things are incredible. I think at some point the question becomes, is it enough? And is it a worthwhile endeavor for a city? All right, so let's transition into women to watch at this year's Olympics. We've got Allison Felix. Allison Felix is a 9-time Olympic medalist. This is her last Olympic appearance in Tokyo. So this is the end of the line for Allison Felix. She will be competing in the 400-meter dash. She possibly will also be competing in the 4x400 women's relay. This is her first Olympics as a mom. She's 35. She gave birth to her daughter in 2018. Her pregnancy sparked criticism of Nike for its poor maternity policies. So she's since left Nike. She's joined Athleta with Simone Biles. If she medals in Tokyo, she would equal Carl Lewis's record for the most Olympic medals by an American track and field athlete ever. The next woman to watch is Kate Courtney. Kate Courtney is a cyclist. In 2019, she became the first American in 17 years to win the overall World Cup in cross-country mountain biking. In Tokyo, Courtney will have the chance to become the first American to medal since 2012. No American ever has placed higher than third. I would bet like the Europeans kick our ass in mountain biking. At 25, Courtney is leading what some are calling the new golden age of American cycling. The next up are two women to watch, Jessica and Nelly Korda. Both are golfers. Jessica's 28. She's ranked number 13 in the world. And Nelly, 22, is the number one ranked golfer in the world. She just won her first major at the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. This is their first Olympics. They are also sporting legacy. Their father, Peter, is formerly number 2 on the APT Tour, and their mother, Regina, was a 26 seed in the WTA Tour. That had to be a crazy household. Interestingly enough, Jessica and Nelly's younger brother, Sebastian, also qualified for the Olympics, but he must be the black sheep of the family and opted out. Last up, we have Noelle Lambert. Noelle Lambert is a Paralympic track and field athlete. She is a former standout lacrosse player at UMass Lowell. She was involved in a moped accident before the start of her sophomore year at UMass. She returned to the lacrosse field 18 months later. She scored a goal, and after graduating, she turned to sprinting. Just 2 years after beginning her running career, she's one of the world's top 10 Paralympic sprinters in the 100-meter dash. Speaking of things to watch, mortgage rates are unbelievably low. You do not want to pay the bank more than you need to. Cross-country mortgage makes it incredibly simple to figure out how much you can save on a monthly basis and over the entire lifetime of your mortgage loan. If you are a homeowner, you own a house and you haven't refinanced it, you may be leaving thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on the table that could be working for you in other places. Call Cross Country Mortgage today for a fast, free quote. They will also give you a free home valuation. So go to crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool and learn more about your future home buying experience or refinance your current mortgage. Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans are subject to underwriting approval. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Next up, we have Danielle Kang. Danielle Kang is something else. I am now a big Danielle Kang fan, mostly because it seems like she spent her childhood doing taekwondo, hitting golf balls with her brother and beating the shit out of people. She is a top 10 golfer in the world. She is on her way to Tokyo to represent the US in the Olympics. And what I love most is how excited she is to compete. I think it's always awesome to witness someone who is at the top of their game and they're fired up to be there. So here's Danielle.
I'd like to know your favorite swear words just to start us off.
My favorite swear word is fuck, definitely. But there's a saying, there is no I in team, but there are 3 U's and shut the fuck up.
Ooh, I love that.
That's my favorite.
That's all right.
There's
let's
no
go,
I in team.
Danielle. All right.
I say that to my caddy a lot. There are 3 U's and shut the fuck up.
How often do you drop the F-bomb in front of your caddy?
A lot. I use
Directed
it
at your caddy or no?
No. I mean, definitely not. I don't direct it at people. I mean, I have obviously in my life, but no, my caddy, people think I'm really, that I abuse my caddy, but him and I, we have really good times out there. So I do use it and a saying like, I think I got fined for saying, what kind of fucking kick was that? And then I think I got fined for that, but it's kind of in that general sense. And he swears probably sometimes more than I do. So it's never directed at each other.
Do golfers get a reputation of like people who are dicks to their caddy and those who aren't?
100%. Yeah.
That would be an amazing Mount Rushmore. I don't know why Riggs hasn't got on this yet. I'm going to get on Riggs about this.
Yeah, there's definitely.
So where do you rank?
I think I'm ranked as one of the toughest players to caddy for. That's what I've heard. So, I mean, rumors, that's what I've heard through the grapevines. That's what they tell my brother. But no caddies quit on me yet. So,
that's pretty good.
Because one year I wasn't hiring. So people thought I fired like 10 caddies in a row, but technically I wasn't hiring. So it's one or the other. But at the same time, I am pretty tough. I guess I'm really picky, but my caddy's we're going on 5 years now. I always say, whenever he's mad at me, I say, just quit. You know, no one's done it yet.
Yeah.
If I'm that difficult, just quit.
That's right. You should quit. Wait, and do you pay this is, Danielle, I didn't think this is where we were going, but we're here.
That's
do you pay the caddies out of your own pocket?
Of course.
As a salary or like tips?
No, we do salary and percentage.
And a percentage of your winnings?
Yes. And then you give them bonus at the end of the year of like what you make through the year. And then I give them bonus out of that too.
Okay, that's awesome. And why aren't there more girl caddies?
I'm not a whole, why isn't there more girl or guy caddies? I actually don't think I could carry that bag. I don't think a lot of women could carry it. The golf bag's heavy. It's a lot of work. Like Brooke Henderson is one of the players. Her sister caddies for her. I don't know how she does it because I can barely carry my bag probably for 2 holes.
Yeah, carrying, it's so awkward too. It's like banging around your ass and your thighs. It's just like, it's awkward. All right, so Danielle, you're about to go to Tokyo. When do you leave for Tokyo?
I leave next Friday, the 30th of July.
Okay, are you fired up to go golf in Japan? Let's go, Team USA.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've never been this excited to play in a tournament, basically.
And why? Because it's the Olympics? Like, tell me why.
It's the Olympics. Well, for a lot of people, it might be different for everybody, but for me, I've literally grown up watching the Olympics, and I know people say every 4 years, but it's actually every 2 years. I watched the Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics. I trained for the Olympics as martial arts when I was younger, and that was just my goal. I wanted to go to Olympics with Taekwondo, and I trained like that for years. And all I thought was, when I transitioned into golf and things like that, Olympic was just out of my reach. And it's just, that's the purest athlete's accomplishment, is to be an Olympian. And so for me, it's the biggest thing that I could have done is to make it to the Olympics. And now obviously it's still a tournament, and I'm going to go there and try and win gold. That's what we're going there to do. But for me to even qualify itself, and then the pandemic happened, and then it got delayed, and I cried, and then I qualified, but then the qualifying got extended another 15 months. Then I cried again because I had to requalify. You have to keep playing well, and that stressed me out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so desperate to go. So now that I'm going, I'm just thrilled to go.
Are you gonna have another cry?
No, I'm done crying.
Okay. And how many female golfers go?
So the golf is a bit different. If you're top 15 in the world, the maximum players that can qualify are 4. Oof. So if there are 3 in the top 15, 3 get to go. Minimum is 2, kind of. Well, not really, 1, I guess sometimes. But so there are 4 girls, our maximum that can go. We all qualified, so there's 4 girls going from the United States.
And give us the lay of the land. Like, who's bringing the best golfers? Like, give us what are the odds on you?
Well, so golf is a bit different, right? So it's an individual sport, and anyone can win. That's the beauty of the game. And the Team Korea is really solid. I like how they always are in women's golf, but our team, the USA team, is really good. We got Lexi Thompson, we got our new world number 1 Nelly Korda, and her sister Jessica and I, and it's just, we're really solid golfers, and we're going to go out there. And I think everybody that's competing in that Olympics has a chance. Like, you're still seeing the top 50 in the world that are going to compete up there. So. And
what about the course? Like, tell me about the course. Are you worried about the course?
We don't know yet.
Have you ever played the course? You don't know.
I don't know, but I have heard from Nasaha Taoka, who's another Japanese player. She's number 1 Japanese player. She just almost won the US Open, and she just won the marathon. And she said it's just it's like Japan golf course built on a really small land, and it's a lot of dog legs, and that's how Japan golf courses are, always mostly tree lined. So I'm excited to go there, and I think that'll play to a good advantage. Is that good
for your game? That you like that kind of game?
I do. I like it when people can't hit it. I say like the Wi-Fi is on, left and right.
Okay.
So I like it when the Wi-Fi narrows down because it's the precision and accuracy of the game, right?
Okay. So. And what makes you a top 10 golfer in the world? Like, what got you there?
What is that word I'm looking for? My mom says I'm kind of like a bulldog. I
Mm-hmm.
bite onto something and I don't let go.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of personality, I think, got me to where I am today. Is just I can't give up. And so I just keep trying, and I cry and stress and get angry and all that, but I just keep going no matter how upset I am. So I think that's pushed me this far. And honestly, my friends and family, if it weren't for them, I don't think I'd be here. Like, I don't know what I'd be doing.
And are you bummed that they're not going? Like, how much does that bum you out?
It bummed me out a lot, but as selfishly as it sounds, because we almost didn't play the Olympics, now I'm just really happy to go.
I think there's just so much story being made of like the families can't go, which I realize it sucks. And I realize it sucks with no fans, but I'm also like, it's a business trip. Like, it's going to be a long business trip.
We're going there to compete. And
you're there
I
to
know
win.
that, 100%. It's a competition, and it's the best competition we're going to play. But I know that people are really disappointed with the fans. It's going to be different and all that. And lately people have been saying to me, you need to make 2024, so people can go and like you can watch and you'll experience the real Olympics. And I go, honestly, I did not make the Olympics for you. I made the Olympics for me, and I'm going there to compete for
and win
my country. So like, I'm really saddened that they're not there, but that doesn't deteriorate anything for me to compete or how I feel about playing the Olympics.
Yeah, completely. I get that. Are you just a sick athlete? I don't know why you're not a hockey player. You have hockey player energy.
But you know what? I don't fit with the golf personality. That is
clearly.
Yes, since I was young, they told me not to swear on the golf course, don't try and breathe and not get mad. And honestly, the shit doesn't work. You just see, I get mad. I mean, I go off to the side and get mad so I don't get on TV and get fined or something. But I do get mad. Like, I have to have my own me time and just let it out, because I'm not a person that holds things in and then drag it on. And if you tell me to do that, it'll just make everything worse.
Yeah.
So when something happens, I have to deal with it, like get angry about it, done, and just move on, and I forget about it. So that's how I am with golf. So I try to be, but people always say this, like, just tone it down. But golf's a little bit more like quieter. Yeah, I hate when people shush me.
Being shushed is actually the fucking worst. I hate being shushed.
Fucking worse when people are like, you're being too loud. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, just, I'm not being disrespectful to anybody around me, but I do talk loud. My mom has hearing problems. Like, no one ever has to say what to me because I talk loud enough. Like, but it's just, I hate being shushed. But then at the golf course,
being shushed is the worst.
It is. So I do tell my caddy, just to piss him off, every time he talks to me, I say, why are you being so loud? And then he just goes, seriously? I can still hear you. So we have a joke of like whisper yelling, but yeah, I actually don't like when people talk too quietly anyways. I can't hear them.
It's hard to hear. It's just hard to hear. It's
tone is
you have
emotion,
to lean in
right?
and then focus.
Tone's emotion, just like, I'm an emotional person. So I kind of like when people talk to me, like, I want to hear your tone. Like, are you angry? Are you upset? Are you happy? I don't know. So.
And do you think that the players is golf hushed and shushed because that's the package the golf establishment wanted? Or do you think the players have been conditioned to be hushed and shushed? Or
I think it's both. A little bit of both. I do shush people. My caddy does shush people because I don't like sudden noise when I'm playing, because golf is such a meticulous, deliberate sport that if you make like noise in the middle of the thing, you kind of fidget and you're still swinging at 100 miles per hour. You mess it up. So I don't mind constant noise. So when I go to Solheim Cup and stuff, I don't know if you've ever watched it, it's super loud. I want everyone to be screaming when I'm teeing off because it's just fun.
Yeah.
I want it to be like that all the time, but obviously it's not.
Okay. So we're going to fly to Tokyo. We're going to crush the Olympics. What are we wearing? Like, do you have input into the outfit, or do you just get the uniform and the uniform's the uniform?
Uniforms are uniform, but they did send us our outfits, and it's Adidas, and I'm Adidas. So
okay, great.
Worked out perfectly. Some don't fit right now, so we have to alter it, but it's going to be fine. I don't even care what I look like, honestly. They could put me in a chicken suit for all I care, as long as I'm going to the Olympics.
That might be amazing for women's golf. They should try things like that. Yeah, you're like, I don't care. I'm here. Okay.
Put girls in bikinis and just...
Did you hear about the Norwegian beach volleyball girls? So
No.
the Norwegian women's volleyball team wanted to wear like little shorts. Like they didn't want to wear the thong or whatever, like non-existent underwear women's volleyball players are supposed to wear. And then they got in trouble for it. I think they got fined you're getting fined for swearing. Really? They're getting fined for wearing clothing. Like, what is a woman to do in Olympic sports? Were you just a killer athlete and became a killer golfer?
I was a really good fighter. So, I mean, fighting's pretty athletic. I was a really good fighter. I actually say that if I got in a fight with my 14-year-old self, I would lose right now. Like I was.
Now, when you're punching other kids, or are you doing like Taekwondo? Martial arts. Sorry.
Taekwondo, martial arts, and I was fighting a lot of people. So
really,
growing up, yeah, I got in a lot of fights. My parents told me I couldn't punch until I gave them 3 warnings. So I always give people 3 warnings, even to this day, before I just
that's a good rule.
Yes.
That's a good rule.
And then my mom said to me that there was a kid that I always used to beat up, and she always had to apologize. Like, I'm really sorry. And then eventually when this lady said, you know, how are you raising your daughter to be like this, blah, blah, blah. And my mom goes, okay, maybe your son's the problem. Maybe he shouldn't do things to get punched by my daughter. So now she went the other way. That's what my mom is.
She's like,
she always protects me.
I'll give you the kung fu move on that. Okay.
As crazy as that sounds, yeah.
I love that you're a fighter. That seems such not the disposition for golf, but I think it's exactly what golf needs.
So I honestly, I do have to say, you're the one that knows my brother? He actually is the one that got me into golf, and I got good at golf because of him. Like my brother practices more than me still to this day, and I practice a lot.
Is he a professional golfer?
He plays on the Corn Ferry, yes.
All right, that's cool.
I had no interest in being a professional golfer, but I went to play with him, practiced as long as he did. Every day we hit 1,000 golf balls a day because he had to hit 1,000. And then obviously I have to hit 1,000 if he hits 1,000 because, you know, he's my brother. Why would I want to lose to my brother? So then you can't help but to get good at something if you do it that repetitively.
Yeah, that's right.
And put that much time and effort in. So I do have to thank him for that. So when people say, hey, well, how did you get so good so fast? I'm like, my brother practiced 10 hours a day. I hung out with him 10 hours a day. I just wanted to be with my brother and just hang out and play golf and be with his friends. And that's what I did.
Does it piss him off that you're better than him?
No, it's not. I don't think golf's like really like you're better than me or I'm better than you. I think it's more so golf is like an internal fight. It's kind of
most frustrating sport on the planet. It's cruel.
Golf's pretty fucked up. Like if you look at the top people and like, you know, you read the things and they make millions and it must be great. But then you got to realize the other 99.9% of the people that aren't feeling that success, like it kills you inside.
Yeah. You're like,
yeah. Cause like you're fighting with a freaking golf ball all day. Like you're cussing at a golf ball. You're fighting with this golf ball. And then you go and sit at home and you think about the shit that you did. It's just like the worst ever. And then you don't have a teammate. So
yeah, you just have your caddy.
I mean, if you're lucky, you don't have a caddy. So
yeah. All right. Well, Danielle, you're going to be my player to watch at the Olympics. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy hockey camp. Fly safe to Tokyo, and we'll be seeing you on NBC.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. So rounding out today's episode, we always like to give a thank you and toast our friends at High Noon. High Noon is a hard seltzer made with real vodka, real juice, and sparkling water. They have just released their brand new Tropical 8-pack. Tropical 8-pack is perfect to watch the Olympics. They've got mango and passion fruit. As always, they have watermelon, peach, and pineapple. All flavors are available in 4-pack, or you can get the 8-pack variety. It's only 100 calories. It's gluten-free, no added sugar, and it tastes great. We're going to end today's episode, as we always do, with our segment on adulting. We got a DM from our friend Sarah. Sarah says, hey, can we have a dress code conversation? My boss was informed this morning that our department, Sarah works in marketing at a very corporate company. The marketing department, gasp, had some inappropriate outfits. And Sarah's boss had to have a one-on-one and then was handed a printed out copy of the dress code. First of all, I hate when people do this. I think reminding people what to wear to work is like one of the most patronizing things ever. Now, that said, it is a workplace. Sarah's question is, hey, if the dress code says that I need to wear pumps and I'm walking into work in my sneakers and my flip-flops, is that okay? Is that not okay? And the question is, how do you navigate a dress code in this day and age? I love this question. Okay, so if you were to talk to Kelly Martin would be a massive advocate for dress for the job you want, not the job you have. This would probably explain why I'm in ripped jeans and a t-shirt most days, and Kelly Martin is in a blouse or a dress. One of the interesting things about dress codes is that dress codes have always played a pivotal role in the work environment, but the way women dress has largely been dictated by the male gaze. So I was actually reading about this. So I was reading about Olivia Rodrigo and her Chanel suit at the White House. I saw the Chicks in the Office girls were kind of obsessed with it, and I was reading about it. I thought she looked adorable. I then went and rat holed on the like LA vintage store where she gets all of her stuff. But regardless, what I started to read about was Chanel suits. This particular suit that she was wearing, I think, was from 1994. And it was so short. And the whole statement by Chanel was that a woman's power is her sexuality. And so when you think about dress codes in the office, women are usually in an environment that's regulated by men, but enforced by women. And so women reinforce male standards for dress on other women. I think this is changing dramatically. You look at a company like Knix, you look at a company like Barstool Sports, there's so many unique CEOs, there's so many women rising up the ranks and becoming more powerful at companies. And I also think the world is changing, right? The world is becoming more casual. So as it relates to how should you dress for work, I think the biggest things are you got to read the room. If you work at a corporate company and you want to work in a very corporate environment, and you want to, most importantly, succeed in a corporate environment, then you need to dress a little bit corporate. I always advocate for having a uniform where you don't have to spend a lot of time making a decision on what you wear every day. You have something, you know, it fits the norm of your office, you know, it looks great on you, and you choose an accessory. Maybe it's a necklace, maybe it's a scarf, maybe your thing is shoes, but you choose a little something that makes you feel like you can bring your personality into your outfit. The standards of your workplace still apply. I would also say if you feel repressed by your workplace dress code, then you probably shouldn't work there. We don't have a dress code at Barstool Sports. I walked out of Barstool yesterday. I saw Rhea was wearing like the spandex sweat things at a crop top. I was wearing jeans and a dirty t-shirt. Kelly Martin had a shift dressed. So like, we're kind of all over the place. It's like, come as you are, dress as you are. I do believe though, that there is such thing as dressing inappropriately for work, and that you need to be mindful that you are in a workplace environment. So the net of it is you got to be mindful of where you work. If you want to succeed, you should dress like the place you work at. I think you can always add flair. You can always add personality. And if you feel repressed by the dress, go work someplace else. That's it for today's episode. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, leave us a review or give us a rating. We are answering voicemails, so call anytime at 440-462-1729. You can watch this episode along with every other on our YouTube channel. Just search Token CEO. You can also join our Facebook group. That's where we talk shop. So whether it's jobs, internships, maneuvering situations at work, you name it. I'm at EKA Nardini. Token CEO is on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find us at TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We'll see you back here on Tuesday.